Recent advances in organ transplant are saving lives, but the need for organ donors is still great. Last year, surgeons performed 46,000 transplants. That's nearly 30% more than the total just 5 years ago. But more than 100,000 people are still waiting for a life-saving transplant today. With me today is Dr. Matthew Wilkinson, a transplant surgeon at St. Luke's Health System. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
So first of all, last month, surgeons performed the first transplant using a genetically modified kidney from a pig into a living person in Boston. What does this milestone mean for the future of life-saving transplants?
Well, I think this is really where the future of transplant is going to go. We've been using cow and pig tissue for a long period of time and know that that's generally safe. The big issue has been making sure that the body doesn't reject those organs. This kidney was specifically made with a sort of camouflage so that the human wouldn't realize that it had come from a pig and was able to be successful.
Very exciting. Can we expect to see more of these?
I would expect so. I don't think it's going to change next week or overnight, but I do certainly think in the coming years we're going to see more and more of this, which will then minimize the amount of time people have to wait for organs.
Great. What other advances are allowing more people to be transplanted?
One thing we've seen a lot more of with all organs is the use of what are called ex vivo pumps, or a pump where the organ is kept alive outside of the body. And sometimes when we're not sure if it's a good organ, this allows us to see if it begins working again and makes us feel more comfortable using it for transplant.
Okay, very interesting. Now, even with these advances, there's still a huge need for organ donors. Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, as you said, there's over 100,000 people waiting for organs. The vast majority of those are waiting for livers and kidneys. We know there's not enough organs, and 17 people die each day on the wait list.
Now, for many on the transplant waiting list, a living donor can help even more than a deceased donor. Can you explain why that is?
Absolutely. So first of all, for a kidney, you have to wait. So it may be, in this part of the country, 3 to 6 years. If you're on one of the coasts, it may be up to 10 years because there are more people waiting. And we know that the longer you're on dialysis, the higher risk of mortality or dying. By having a living donor, you skip all of that because that person says, I'm specifically going to give this kidney to you. And once you're worked up and they're worked up, we get the transplant taken care of.
Okay. Now, why is it that we can perform living transplants for kidney and liver recipients?
Well, in the case of kidneys, everybody has 2 kidneys, and we know that when we transplant someone, we only give them 1 kidney, whether it's from a living or deceased person. So the donor is able to live with just the 1 kidney, and the recipient is able to come off of dialysis with that 1 kidney. In the case of liver, the liver is actually the only organ that regenerates. You can actually take up to 70% of a normal healthy liver, and it will grow back to the right size in the donor as well as in the recipient.
Wow, fascinating. Now, on the donor side, what should potential living donors know about transplant surgery and the support offered?
First thing that people are always worried about is, how do I take time off for work? How am I going to pay for this? I want to help someone, but how does that work? And the first thing they should know is that all the costs are actually taken care of on the recipient's insurance side. So there's nothing out of pocket for them. The surgeries are very safe. They're done worldwide. We have multiple centers in this country redo them. We have a very successful living donor kidney transplant program here. The kidney donation is done laparoscopically, so minimally invasive, and most patients are able to go home in about 2 to 3 days.
Great. And the living donors receive an advocate as well.
Absolutely. So there is a whole separate person whose only goal is to make sure that they feel safe and taken care of through the whole process.
Great. Now, what's your final message today?
I think the most important thing that I can say to anyone is to be an organ donor. People should never say that, oh, I think I'm too sick, or I'm not healthy enough, or I can't be one. That's always a decision we make as the physicians, and we feel that everybody should have that opportunity and go ahead and check that yes on their license.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
To learn more about St. Luke's Transplant Program or becoming a living donor, visit stlukeskc.org/transplant specialists. You can also sign up to become an organ donor today at organdonor.gov/sign-up. You can also stay up to date with all the latest health news and stories from St. Luke's at stlukeskc.org/news. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time on Health News You Can Use.